Does holiday trauma make you just not even want to go through the holidays? And just thinking about it makes you want to relapse? Well, you're not alone. Today is day 1 of 20 days of tips that will get you through the holidays so that you could have a relapse-free holiday. This may be your very first, but I want to tell you it is possible to do it. But it's going to take some work, and it takes the work starting as of today, not the day before Thanksgiving or the day before Christmas. You have to determine now how to change your thoughts, change your beliefs, change how you're going to respond rather than the knee-jerk reactions. So today we're going to learn how to deal with the family conflict, and that can also include friends, because the family dynamic is one that probably brought us into our addiction, whether it was growing up in the childhood we had or even up to today as an adult, of how we react to our interactions with being with a family. You know, family get-togethers, there's all kinds of things that can crop up. You've got arguments, you've got criticisms, you've got the old wounds that keep festering up inside of you. You've got the judgments. A lot of them can even be self-judgments. Or, just the drama of certain people and their personalities is enough to throw us into abusing our drug of addiction. I remember getting uptight at family gatherings weeks ahead of time, just thinking about it, because I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be around certain people. I knew I couldn't change the people, but I also knew that I still had memories that popped up and would make me want to run away. And it takes time to develop new coping strategies, new ways of handling the conflict. So eventually I learned how to make these events about them and not about me. And how did I do that? Well, by focusing more on being a person who gives, being a person who brings something to the event, whether it be food or even just snacks or a special gift for somebody. Again, it's making it about them and not about me. And also coming up with conversation starters ahead of time, again, focusing on them and not focusing on me. It's also good when people begin to recall memories of how I used to be. And I don't want to talk about that, and we'll get into that in a couple of minutes. So how do you handle these family triggers? Well, you start today by 2 things: recognizing your negative self-talk, what you may have about that person or situation, and then how you can change it. Or if you even can change it. Again, the negative self-talk. The second way is to discover possible underlying beliefs that need to be identified and changed ahead of time. Since it takes time to change our beliefs, we got to start today. So some of the thoughts we need to counter is, I can't deal with them unless I numb out. I can't handle them. I can't handle their smart-ass remarks. I can't handle their attitudes. I just can't handle it. Well, those are thoughts that need to be countered. One is, yes, you can handle it. It may be difficult, but you can handle it. The more we tell ourselves we can't do something, the more true it becomes. So let's start today by saying, I can handle it. I can handle my negative self-talk. I can handle other people's talk. But as far as negative self-talk, I can't change it if I don't know what it is. So I want you to, as we go through these 20 days, have a journal or a pen and paper handy to go through and start identifying some of these things that need to be changed and how to change them. So the second thought to counter is, nothing I do will ever be good enough for this family. And you know what? That may be true. And that's okay. Because you don't owe them anything to live up to their standards. The only standards we need to live up to are the ones that God gives us. And those are easy to live up to because He gives us the power and the strength and the Holy Spirit inside of us to live a life according to how He has called us. So when that thought of nothing I do will ever be good enough for this family or this friend or even this employer, realize that we don't have to live up to their standard, only God's standard. And what is God's standard? And you'll find out as you begin to read the Bible, go through it, and recognize sometimes it's not that hard to live for God. Yes, others may give us a hard time, but that's okay, because God will give us the strength to handle those comments, to handle that adversity. So some of the beliefs that we need to look at and to adjust, some of them we may not even be aware of, such as, if they don't treat me right, then I'm worthless. And that's a big one because perhaps growing up, we always modified our behavior so that they would treat us right, so that we would feel loved and accepted. But as we get older, we get tired of, I don't want to change who I am just to please that person. So in reality, the belief is, I only need to adjust who I am to live in conformity with who God has created me to be. And that way, God's approval is the only one I'm looking for. And if I have His approval, I can handle other people's rejections or what I see as rejection. So learning to live for God, both character-wise and action-wise, is what we need to be looking at. So sometimes if they don't treat me right, what does that look like? How in the past have people treated you wrong? Is it through conversation? Is it through those little jabs that they know will push a trigger? Do they treat you wrong by ignoring you? By speaking about you behind your back? By gossiping? So how many ways can you identify how you think that others aren't treating you right? And sometimes that's just their personality. They don't know better. They honestly don't know better. And they also don't know how we want to be treated. Yes, we want to be treated with respect and honor and love and acceptance. But what does that look like in my life? How would I know if they are respecting me? How would I know if they are loving me? If you know anything about the 5 love languages, that helps a lot to find out what your love language is and the love language of those who are closest to you, because that will help you to understand that you feel like you're not receiving love, but that's because your love language is different than theirs. And sometimes we have to tell them, hey, you always give me gifts or whatever, but I really appreciate just a hug, just some physical touch. Or I really appreciate times when we could just sit down and have deep conversations, not trying to fix problems, but just deep conversations about life in general. Where we're headed together, where do you think I need improvement, things like that. So the second belief to look at is peace only comes from escaping, not facing my problems. As a matter of fact, that's probably what got us into our addiction, was we didn't want to face our problems. It was easier to escape them. But once you know how to handle your emotions, then you can better handle the problems. You can figure the solutions to the problems. And every problem has a solution. It may not be one that we want, but there is a solution. So, where in your life have you been avoiding problems by escaping? And you know what? It could be as simple as boredom, especially during the holidays. All these feelings come up because we see others who are having a great time. They've got money, they've got finances coming in. They can do what they want to do, and yet we may be struggling, barely making it, and we start to feel bad about ourselves because we can't do what we want to do or what we see others doing. So identify the problems that you think you're escaping from. And if you need help to identify some of them, in my book, How to Stop Relapsing, provides biblical principles to help you get through your addiction and how to stop relapsing. So this whole thing about family conflict is we have to be proactive, starting today, not starting 2 weeks from now, okay? We start today. Let's look at how does the Bible tell us to be proactive? Proverbs 15:1 says, a gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare. Boy, isn't that true? Someone will say something, and if we react, not respond, if we react with a knee-jerk reaction and we just fly off the handle, get angry, start spewing these words of disgust and hatred and anger, that's what makes tempers fly. That's what makes arguments explode. So think of new ways to respond to potential triggers that always made you angry. So a gentle answer deflects anger. So start thinking and writing down some different ways to respond to these things that people know will push your buttons. They know if they say X or Y, or if they bring up a certain situation, they know that it's going to trigger you. They may not consciously know it, but somehow subconsciously they know that this gets to you. Some do it out of spite, out of meanness. Others just do it unconsciously. So what are some of those potential triggers, whether they be words or conversations or events from your past? And learn a new way to respond. Sometimes it's just a matter of, I'm not going to participate in this conversation. And if they don't change it, you could physically walk away. And that's the best way to handle a lot of conflict today, is to just physically turn around, walk away, go get something to eat off the kitchen counter, or just find somebody else to talk to. So the second way the Bible tells us is Romans 12:18. It says, do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. In other words, it's not up to me to wait for others to say certain things, to wait for others to take certain actions, when I have it in my ability to change my conversation from a negative to a positive, to change the situation by walking away from it, by continuing to stay in joy and continuing to talk to God throughout the evening, throughout the whole day. You know, Thanksgiving is a place of all-day festivities. Some get to you, some don't. So decide which ones get to you ahead of time, and what are you going to do instead? Where are you going to go? Who are you going to talk to? And don't just pull up your phone and scroll on social media. I want you to participate in these family events. Actually, I wish you would put away your cell phone for the day. You could do it and interact with people. You will have more fulfillment from interacting with people, even if it's a struggle, than you will by scrolling on social media all day. So here's a prayer that you can pray to help you. Lord, help me walk in peace. Give me a gentle spirit, soft words, and self-control. Guard my heart from anger and help me respond like Jesus and not react from pain. Let your love be greater than the conflict around me. Amen. So look forward to the next 19 days of tips to help you get through without relapsing. And you can do it.